My name is Jane Mitchell, and I'm 25 years old. I never imagined that returning from my first major business presentation would end with discovering my entire life stuffed into black trash bags. The plastic containers bulged with my belongings, lined up like tombstones along our front walkway in suburban Denver. My mother Catherine stood there with her arms folded tight across her chest, flanked by my 3 older siblings like a firing squad. Their faces showed no warmth, just stone-cold determination. The excited smile I'd worn since my plane touched down at Denver International Airport vanished as Mom delivered those crushing words. "You're 25 now, Jane. Time to pack up and move out." Before I continue, let me know where you're watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe to follow this incredible journey of family betrayal and discovering inner strength I never knew I had. Growing up as the baby of 4 kids in our middle-class Denver neighborhood was never simple. My father Robert died in a construction accident when I was just 8 years old, leaving Mom to raise us alone. My oldest brother Brandon was already 19, my sister Amanda was 17, and my brother Connor was 15. While they had years of precious memories with Dad, I could barely remember his laugh without staring at old photographs. After Dad's death, Mom transformed completely. The gentle, laughing woman from my earliest memories hardened into someone who measured love through achievements and absolute obedience. She juggled 2 jobs, morning shift at a medical office and evening bookkeeping for local businesses, to keep our heads above water, and she reminded us daily of her enormous sacrifices. "I gave up my dreams for you kids," became her battle cry, usually followed by, "the least you could do is." As the youngest, I experienced both the advantages and burdens of being last. Mom was more financially stable by the time I needed braces or college tuition, but years of single parenthood had worn her down emotionally. She controlled every detail of my existence with military precision, from which friends I could hang out with to what major I should choose in college. My siblings had all walked the exact paths she approved of. Brandon became a successful physical therapist. Amanda climbed the corporate ladder at a prestigious law firm, and Connor earned his engineering degree and landed a job with a major tech company. They all married people Mom adored, bought homes in neighborhoods she approved of, and started having children right on her preferred timeline. They were her golden success stories, living proof of her excellent parenting skills. Then there was me. I chose communications instead of medicine or law, took a position at a growing marketing startup rather than an established corporation, and remained stubbornly single at 25. While I wasn't exactly rebellious by normal standards, in our family dynamics, I was definitely the black sheep who couldn't seem to get anything right. "When are you going to find a real career, Jane?" Mom would ask every single Sunday during our mandatory family dinners, usually while Amanda was cutting into her perfectly prepared pot roast. "Amanda was already making 6 figures by your age, you know." These constant comparisons felt like paper cuts, small individually, but collectively drawing blood from my self-esteem. Despite these ongoing tensions, I had made the practical decision to live at home after college graduation. My entry-level marketing coordinator position paid decently for a recent graduate, but Denver's housing market had exploded in recent years. Living with Mom allowed me to aggressively pay down my student loans while building a solid emergency fund. "You can stay here as long as you need to get on your feet," Mom had said when I first moved back home. "Family takes care of family after all." But her version of support came with invisible strings attached, mostly unspoken expectations that hung heavy in the air. I paid her $600 monthly rent, contributed another $200 toward groceries, and handled the majority of household chores without complaint. I drove her to medical appointments when her arthritis flared up, spent hours troubleshooting her computer problems, and listened patiently to endless complaints about difficult neighbors, demanding co-workers, and occasionally my siblings, though never when they were actually present, of course. The relationship with my siblings was equally complicated and frustrating. To them, I remained the clueless baby sister whose opinions carried about as much weight as a feather in a hurricane. Whenever family disagreements arose, they automatically formed a united front with Mom, dismissing my perspective as naive or simply uninformed. "You'll understand these things better when you have more real-world experience," Brandon would say condescendingly, despite the fact that I had lived independently through 4 years of college and even spent a semester studying abroad in Spain, experiences he had never had himself. The constant tension between craving independence and feeling trapped by family obligation intensified as I approached my mid-20s. Friends my age were sharing apartments with roommates, dating freely without detailed interrogations, and staying out late without receiving demanding text messages about their exact whereabouts every hour. I envied their freedom desperately but felt trapped by both financial reality and deeply ingrained family duty. Then came the golden opportunity that I believed might finally change everything between us. Our marketing firm, Creative Solutions Denver, landed their biggest client ever, a major outdoor gear company looking to rebrand their entire digital presence. As the team member with the freshest ideas and strongest grasp of social media trends, I was chosen to present our comprehensive campaign proposal to their executive team in Seattle. It was my first solo business trip, my first presentation to C-level executives, and potentially the career breakthrough I'd been working toward for 3 long years. The presentation was scheduled for a Thursday morning, with follow-up strategy meetings extending through Friday afternoon. I had spent countless hours preparing every slide, rehearsing until I could deliver the entire pitch flawlessly in my sleep. The night before my early morning flight, Mom seemed unusually distracted during dinner, barely acknowledging my nervous excitement about the trip. "I'll be back late Friday night," I reminded her while loading the dishwasher after our quiet dinner of grilled chicken and steamed vegetables. "Probably around 10 or 11, depending on flight delays." "Fine," she muttered without looking up from her smartphone, where she was scrolling through Facebook posts. "Brandon and Amanda are bringing the kids over on Saturday afternoon for a barbecue. Make sure you're here early to help me set up everything." I promised I would be there, swallowing my disappointment at her complete lack of enthusiasm about my professional milestone. Deep in my heart, I had secretly hoped this business trip would finally prove to her that my chosen career path was legitimate and viable. If I could demonstrate real success and value to major clients, perhaps she would finally see me as a capable adult rather than her disappointing youngest child who couldn't seem to get her act together. The Seattle presentation exceeded every expectation I had dared to harbor. The outdoor gear company's executives loved our innovative campaign strategy, asking for only minor tweaks before approving our 6-figure proposal on the spot. My boss, David Chen, took me to celebrate at an upscale seafood restaurant afterward, discussing a potential promotion and significant raise if the campaign launched successfully within the next quarter. "You have genuine talent, Jane," he told me over perfectly prepared salmon and a glass of excellent wine. "I can see a really bright future for you with our company." Those words of professional validation warmed me more than the expensive Pinot Grigio we shared. For the first time in years, someone recognized my potential rather than constantly highlighting my perceived shortcomings compared to my overachieving siblings. During my limited free time between meetings, I carefully selected small gifts for everyone back home: a beautiful silk scarf for Mom from Pike Place Market, craft beer samplers for Brandon and Connor, and an elegant leather portfolio for Amanda's law practice. These were small tokens of my success, peace offerings that I desperately hoped might bridge the growing gap between us. On my flight back to Denver, I spent the entire time imagining how I would share my triumph at Saturday's family barbecue. Perhaps Brandon would finally stop making snide comments about when I planned to find a stable career. Maybe Amanda would quit forwarding me job postings for entry-level administrative positions at her law firm. Possibly Connor would stop suggesting I should pursue a master's degree to catch up with my peers who were already established in their careers. Above all else, I fantasized endlessly about Mom's reaction. In my elaborate daydream, she smiled with genuine pride, telling her church friends about my professional accomplishment, finally acknowledging that I was successfully making my own way in the world, just on a different path than my siblings had chosen. I had absolutely no idea that my fantasy of family validation and acceptance was about to shatter into a million pieces within minutes of pulling into our driveway, replaced by a nightmare scenario I could never have imagined in my worst dreams. The Denver afternoon greeted me with perfect late spring weather as my Uber driver pulled away from the airport. Sunshine bathed the city after several days of typical Colorado thunderstorms, which I took as a positive omen for the weekend ahead. The carefully wrapped gifts sat securely in my carry-on bag, and my presentation materials were safely stored in my laptop case, including the signed contract that would significantly boost my department's annual budget and hopefully accelerate my career trajectory. I sent Mom a quick text letting her know I had landed safely and was heading home, but received no response. This wasn't entirely unusual. She often missed messages when she was busy with her garden club activities or volunteering at church. Still, a small knot of unease formed in my stomach. Throughout my entire trip, our communication had been minimal, with my cheerful check-in texts met with one-word responses or complete silence. Halfway home, my phone rang with Brandon's name on the screen. My oldest brother rarely called me directly, preferring to communicate through our family group chat or relay messages through Mom. "Hey, what's up?" I answered, curiosity mixing with growing apprehension. "Where exactly are you right now?" His tone was sharp and businesslike, the same voice he probably used with difficult patients at his physical therapy clinic. "In an Uber heading home from the airport," I replied slowly. "My flight landed about 30 minutes early. Is everything okay? Did something happen?" A long pause stretched between us, long enough to make my heart rate accelerate noticeably. "Mom needs to talk to you when you get home." "We all do, actually." "About what?" Alarm replaced my earlier confusion. "Is someone hurt? Is Mom sick?" "Just get home, Jane." He hung up abruptly without any further explanation, leaving me staring at my phone in bewilderment. My mind immediately began racing through every possible scenario. Had something happened to one of my nieces or nephews? Was Mom dealing with a serious health issue she'd been hiding? Had a distant relative passed away unexpectedly? None of these possibilities explained the cold, almost hostile tone in Brandon's voice or why they all needed to talk to me so urgently. I tried calling Amanda and then Connor, but neither answered their phones. I sent several messages to our family group chat asking what was happening, but I could see they were all being read without any responses. Mom's last message to me, sent the previous evening, now seemed ominous in hindsight. "We need to discuss some important changes when you return home." As we turned onto my familiar street, the peaceful suburban neighborhood looked exactly the same as always. Kids played on front lawns, couples walked their dogs, and retirees tended their carefully maintained spring gardens. Our modest two-story house with its cream siding and dark green shutters came into view, as familiar as my own reflection in the mirror. Then I saw them, the black garbage bags. At least 15 of them, lined up along our front walkway like body bags at a crime scene. 4 figures stood rigidly in our front yard, their postures stiff and unmistakably confrontational. I recognized them immediately. Mom in her favorite gardening clothes, Brandon in his weekend casual outfit, Amanda in one of her perfectly pressed business casual ensembles despite it being Saturday, and Connor wearing the Colorado State University sweatshirt he favored on days off from work. "You can just drop me off here," I told the driver, my voice sounding distant and hollow to my own ears. I paid the fare quickly, gathered my luggage with trembling hands, and stepped out onto the sidewalk. The Uber pulled away, leaving me completely exposed before my family's unified front. Not one of them moved to help with my bags. Not one of them offered a smile or greeting of any kind. "What's going on here?" I asked, approaching slowly like I was walking through a minefield. "What are all these bags doing out here?" Mom stepped forward, her jaw set in a hard line I'd seen countless times before. "Your belongings are packed, Jane. It's time for you to find your own place to live." The world seemed to tilt beneath my feet. "What? Why? We never discussed this at all." "You're 25 years old," she continued as if I hadn't spoken. "All of your siblings had moved out and were completely independent by age 23. You've overstayed your welcome here." Brandon nodded in complete agreement. "It's past time you learned real responsibility and self-reliance." The bitter irony of his statement might have made me laugh under different circumstances. I had been paying rent faithfully, handling the majority of household chores, working full-time at a demanding job, and steadily advancing my career. By any reasonable person's definition, I was already demonstrating plenty of responsibility. This is completely insane, I said, looking desperately from face to face, searching for any sign of warmth, compassion, or rational explanation. I just got back from a successful business trip. I have nowhere to go right now. You should have planned better for your future, Amanda interjected coldly, checking her expensive watch as if my sudden homelessness was making her late for some important appointment. We all managed to secure our own apartments immediately after college graduation. With parental co-signing, down payment assistance, and significantly higher starting salaries in established professions, I reminded her, anger beginning to cut through my initial shock and disbelief. Those sound like excuses to me, Connor said, shaking his head disapprovingly. You've had 3 full years to figure this situation out for yourself. I turned to Mom, desperately hoping to find some explanation or compassion in her expression. Why now? Why today, without any warning or discussion whatsoever? I've been dropping hints for months that you should start making plans to move forward with your life, she replied defensively. You chose not to listen or take action. Dropping hints is not the same as giving proper notice, I said, my voice rising despite my best efforts to remain calm and rational. Normal families discuss major life decisions together. They don't pack someone's personal belongings while they're away on business trips and then ambush them with an eviction notice. Don't you dare raise your voice to your mother, Brandon warned, taking a threatening step closer to me. The complete absurdity of the entire situation hit me like a physical blow. Here I was, being lectured about showing respect while being treated with absolute disrespect and cruelty. My own family had deliberately waited until I was out of town to pack up my possessions in garbage bags and ambush me with an eviction notice, without any warning, discussion, or consideration for my well-being. What is this really about? I asked suddenly, remembering overheard phone conversations between Mom and Amanda about rising property values in our neighborhood. Are you planning to sell the house? A flicker of surprise crossed Mom's face before she quickly composed herself again. My financial decisions are absolutely none of your business or concern. They are when those decisions involve making me homeless with zero notice. I shot back. The confrontation continued for another brutal hour, with my family revealing the cold truth piece by piece. Mom had indeed received an offer on the house, significantly above market value from buyers who wanted immediate possession. Rather than discussing this major decision with me, she had conspired with my siblings to simply eliminate what they saw as an obstacle to a profitable sale. The final betrayal came when Amanda casually mentioned that they had already calculated how to reduce my potential inheritance to compensate for my 3 years of living at home, despite the fact that I had paid rent every single month and contributed far more than my fair share to household expenses. Standing there in front of our house, surrounded by my life packed in garbage bags, I experienced a moment of absolute clarity. These people, my own family, had treated me like an inconvenience to be discarded rather than a daughter and sister deserving of basic respect and consideration. You know what? I said, surprising them all with my sudden calmness. I just landed the biggest client in my company's history. I'm about to get promoted with a significant raise. I brought gifts for all of you to celebrate my success. I laughed softly at my own naive optimism. I actually thought you might be proud of me for once. The hurt in their eyes told me they were finally beginning to grasp the magnitude of what they had done, but it was far too late for regrets. One by one, I loaded every single garbage bag into my car, grateful that I drove a Honda CR-V with folding rear seats. When everything was packed, I turned to face them one final time. They stood together like a wall I had never truly been part of anyway. Goodbye, I said simply, getting into my car. I hope the money you'll make is worth losing me. I drove away without looking back, tears streaming down my face as familiar streets suddenly felt foreign and unwelcoming. My phone buzzed constantly with calls and messages, but I ignored them all. With nowhere else to go, I called my college roommate Rachel, who lived across town with her boyfriend. Come here right now, she said without hesitation after I explained everything through broken sobs. You can stay as long as you need to. Rachel and her boyfriend Trevor helped me unload my car without asking a single question, setting up their spare room as a temporary refuge. That first night was the absolute lowest point of my entire life. Curled up on an unfamiliar bed, surrounded by garbage bags I couldn't bear to unpack, I cycled through waves of shock, grief, and burning anger. The messages from my family were exactly what I expected. Mom insisted I was overreacting dramatically. Brandon lectured me about responsibility and respect. Amanda sent links to apartment listings I couldn't afford, and only Connor expressed any regret about their methods, though he still supported the ultimate decision. "These people are toxic," Rachel declared after reading some of the messages. "You need complete space from all of them to heal and figure out your next steps." Though it felt like the ultimate betrayal to consider cutting ties with my only family, I gradually realized that what they had done was a form of emotional abuse. Perhaps most importantly, I didn't have to accept their treatment or keep subjecting myself to their manipulation and cruelty. That night, lying in the darkness, I made two life-changing decisions. I would build a completely independent life without relying on their approval or support, and I would never again measure my worth through their impossible standards or constant comparisons. The following months transformed me in ways I never could have imagined. With Rachel and Trevor's generous support, I found a small studio apartment in a neighborhood I could actually afford. The space was tiny and far from perfect, but it was mine, a place where no one could pack my belongings or question my life choices. My promotion at Creative Solutions came through just as promised, along with a 20% salary increase that made independent living financially viable. More importantly, it validated that my chosen career path was legitimate and valuable, regardless of what my family thought. I threw myself into work with renewed energy and focus, channeling all my emotional turmoil into creative campaigns that consistently exceeded client expectations. Within 6 months, I was leading major projects and mentoring newer team members. The professional recognition I received felt more meaningful than any family approval I had ever sought. Therapy became crucial to my healing process. Working with Dr. Patricia Williams, who specialized in family estrangement, I learned to recognize the toxic patterns that had shaped my entire life. I discovered concepts like emotional manipulation, conditional love, and family scapegoating that helped me understand why I had always felt like an outsider in my own home. Slowly, I began building genuine friendships and pursuing interests I had abandoned to please my family. I joined a hiking club, took up photography again, and even started dating without subjecting potential partners to family scrutiny and inevitable disapproval. 8 months after being thrown out, I encountered Connor at a downtown coffee shop. The meeting was awkward but revealing. He admitted that Mom had been asking about me and that both Brandon and Amanda had expressed some regret about how everything had been handled. "She wants you to come to Christmas dinner," he said hesitantly. "To work things out." "On what terms?" I asked. "Does she acknowledge what she did was wrong? Is she prepared to apologize, or does she expect me to pretend nothing happened?" His expression answered my questions. There would be no acknowledgement, no genuine remorse, no meaningful change in how they viewed or treated me. "I can't go back to that dysfunction, Connor," I told him. "I'm not the same person who left 8 months ago." A year after my eviction, I learned that Mom had lost most of the house proceeds to a financial scam. Suddenly destitute, she reached out desperately, expecting me to rescue her just as she had thrown me away when it was convenient. I agreed to meet her at a neutral coffee shop, where she looked smaller and more vulnerable than I had ever seen her. She needed help, she admitted, and had nowhere else to turn since Brandon and Amanda were both angry about losing their expected inheritance. "Do you understand what you did to me?" I asked quietly. Her attempts to justify her actions, claiming she was helping me become independent, fell flat. I could see the situation with perfect clarity now. I offered limited assistance, help finding affordable senior housing and a modest monthly contribution toward her basic expenses. But I would not allow her to move in with me, would not enable her controlling behavior, and would not sacrifice the healthy life I had built. "When will things go back to normal between us?" she asked as we prepared to leave. "They won't," I replied with compassion but unwavering honesty. "That relationship is gone forever. We might build something new and healthier, but we can never go backward. As I walked away from that coffee shop, I felt a profound shift within myself. The anger that had fueled me for months loosened its grip, replaced by something stronger. The unshakable knowledge of my own worth and the boundaries necessary to protect it. Today, I own a beautiful condo in a neighborhood I love, lead a successful marketing team, and maintain relationships built on mutual respect rather than obligation. Some family connections have slowly healed. Connor and I meet regularly, and Amanda has made genuine efforts toward reconciliation after her own life crisis gave her new perspective on vulnerability. My relationship with Mom remains limited but cordial. She lives in a senior community I helped her find, and we speak occasionally with clear boundaries in place. She will never be the mother I once hoped for, but I no longer need her validation to know my worth. The family who discarded me like garbage gave me the greatest gift imaginable: the opportunity to discover my own strength and build a life aligned with my authentic self. Sometimes the most painful endings truly do lead to the most beautiful beginnings. What began with trash bags on a driveway ended with keys to my own front door, both literally and metaphorically. In losing what I thought I needed, I found what I truly deserved: a life defined by my choices rather than others' expectations.